If you've ever moved from the US to the UK, there's a very specific kind of culture shock nobody warns you about. Not the accents, not the driving, not even the weather. I'm talking about the moment you realize your bathroom has no outlet, your washing machine lives in the kitchen, and your fridge looks like it was designed for a very disciplined hamster. I've lived in the UK for almost 2 years now, and there are 9 things from American homes that I miss way more than I expected. The weird part is, once you dig into the history, most of these British choices actually make sense. They're still annoying, but they make sense. This isn't one of those America better, Britain worse rants. Half the time, the UK version exists for a very good reason. Older plumbing, smaller homes, different building laws, higher energy costs. A lot of this comes down to history. But if you gave me the power to smuggle a few American home features across the Atlantic tomorrow, I'd do it without hesitation. And the one I miss most still makes me irrationally angry every single morning. Number 9. Bathroom outlets. Let's start with the room that gave me my first proper British housing shock, the bathroom. In America, an outlet next to the sink is just normal. You plug in your hairdryer, your electric toothbrush, your curling iron, your water flosser, whatever else modern life has decided you now need. In the UK, you walk into the bathroom and there's just nothing. No socket, no convenient place to do your hair, just a smooth wall and a quiet reminder that this country does not trust you with electricity near water. The first time I tried drying my hair here, I ended up sitting on the floor in the hallway, staring into a mirror from across the room like I was being punished. And yes, the British side actually has a solid argument. The UK runs on 230 volts. The US runs on 120. That difference matters. British regulations are much stricter about putting standard sockets anywhere near bathrooms because the risk is obviously worse when you're mixing higher voltage with water. So while I deeply miss the convenience, I do understand the logic. Britain looked at the bathroom and said, you know what would really improve this room? Fewer opportunities to die. Fair enough. But if the bathroom is where British homes feel the most restrictive, the kitchen is where they start feeling downright hostile. If you're enjoying this video so far, one of the best ways to support the channel is by joining our membership. It helps us keep making more deep dive content like this, and you get some exclusive perks in return. Number 8. Proper tumble dryers. American laundry is built around speed. The washer washes. The dryer dries. They are huge. They are loud. They live in their own dedicated room, and 45 minutes later, your towels come out hot, fluffy, and aggressively dry. Then you move to the UK, and your washing machine is in the kitchen, right next to where you make dinner. That alone takes some mental adjustment, but the real emotional damage starts when you discover the combo washer-dryer. It washes your clothes for 2 hours, then dries them for another 3, and somehow they come out both scorching hot and still slightly damp. I don't even know how that's physically possible, but British appliances have found a way. So what do people do instead? The clothes horse. A folding rack in the middle of your living room, draped in wet laundry, slowly turning your house into an indoor greenhouse from October to April. Again, there's a reason. Energy in the UK is expensive. Homes are smaller. There often isn't room for a dedicated laundry room, let alone giant vented machines. Air drying is cheaper and more normal here. I get it, I really do. But when your bed sheets are hanging over dining chairs for 3 days in January, it becomes very hard to stay culturally respectful. And once you accept that British homes expect patience from you, the next thing they expect is even worse. They expect you to keep rotting food on the counter. Number 7. Garbage disposals. In the US, you scrape your leftovers into the sink, hit the switch, and the disposal makes that terrifying grinding sound that tells you your problem has ceased to exist. It's crude, it's loud, it's glorious. In the UK, that switch is gone. There is no magical food deletion system. Instead, you get a little food waste caddy sitting on your kitchen counter. You drop in vegetable peels, eggshells, old onion bits, whatever's left over, and then you wait for council collection. Environmentally, this is the more sensible system. Food waste gets processed properly instead of being blasted into old plumbing. The problem is that during a warm week, that tiny bin becomes a psychological weapon. And the reason disposals never really caught on here is actually pretty simple. British sewer systems are old, in many places very old. American plumbing was built later and wider, with different assumptions about what households would send down the drain. If every home in Britain suddenly started grinding up food waste like an American suburb, the sewers would be in trouble almost immediately. So, yes, I respect the infrastructure, but I also miss the sweet, immediate joy of hearing leftover pasta get obliterated. Then again, maybe I only miss destroying things because British homes give you almost nowhere to store anything in the first place. Number 6, built in closets. This one confused me more than it should have. In America, a bedroom without a closet feels incomplete. Closets are not a luxury, they're part of the room. Walk in closets, reach in closets, mirrored doors, shelves, rails, hidden storage. We build space specifically to hide our stuff. Then you start looking at homes in the UK and realize many bedrooms are basically just boxes. Four walls, a window, a radiator. Good luck. The solution, obviously, is the wardrobe, a giant freestanding piece of furniture that you have to buy, move, assemble, and somehow convince yourself looks intentional. And no matter how expensive it is, there's always that awkward dead space above it where dust and old suitcases go to die. The reason is historical. A lot of British housing is old. Built-in storage wasn't always standard, especially in older brick homes where carving out extra voids is a lot less simple than it is in American timber frame construction. Also, people simply owned less stuff. And maybe that's the part I'm not supposed to say out loud. Closets make Americans worse. Give us enough hidden storage, and we will absolutely fill it with jackets, boxes, backup towels, and several deeply questionable shopping decisions. British homes are a lot less willing to indulge that behaviour, but if the storage situation tests your patience, the next one tests your skin temperature. Number 5. Mixer taps. Nothing makes you feel more dramatic than trying to wash your hands under separate hot and cold taps. One side is freezing, the other is trying to remove your fingerprints. There is no middle ground. You end up doing this ridiculous hand choreography just trying to produce 1 second of usable water. In America, mixer taps are standard. Hot and cold blend together before they hit your hands. It's civilized, it's efficient, it suggests a society that wants you clean but alive. The UK explanation is one of those bits of history that sounds fake until you read it. In older systems, cold water came directly from the mains, but hot water often came from storage tanks in the loft. That meant the hot water wasn't always treated as equally clean. So older plumbing logic kept the two streams separate. Now, most modern homes don't rely on that exact setup anymore, but the design habit survived. That's the part that gets me. This is basically the ghost of an old plumbing rule, and yet people are still out here choosing between Glacier and Volcano every time they wash their hands in a pub. And while we're talking about homes refusing simple quality of life upgrades, let's open a window and invite chaos inside. Number 4. Window screens. In the US, if a window opens, there's usually a screen attached to it. That means you can let air in without inviting the insect world into your bedroom. It's one of those little things you don't appreciate until you don't have it. In the UK, you open the window and that's it. Just a direct, unfiltered invitation to whatever is flying around outside. And British people will tell you this is fine because the UK doesn't really have dangerous bugs. That would be more comforting if wasps had any respect for personal boundaries. They do not, and crane flies somehow manage to be both harmless and deeply upsetting. They fly like loose paper in a hurricane and always show up right when you're trying to sleep. The British defence is that screens block light and ruin the look of the window. That sounds elegant until a wasp enters your kitchen and suddenly everyone in the house is negotiating with it like hostage police. Of course, a screen would matter a lot more if opening the window actually solved the bigger problem, because during a British heatwave, it absolutely does not. Number 3. Central air conditioning. This is where Americans and British people stop having a polite cultural disagreement and start having a full ideological split. Americans see air conditioning as normal, basic, almost moral. If a house gets too hot, you cool it down. End of discussion. In Britain, a lot of people still treat AC like an unnecessary indulgence, something faintly wasteful that weakens your character, and that attitude holds right up until the house turns into a brick oven in July, because that's the thing. British homes were built to hold heat. Great in winter, not so great when you're in a summer heat wave and the walls have spent all day storing warmth like a revenge project. By midnight, the outdoor air might be cooler, but the house is still radiating heat back at you from every surface. I have been hotter in a British home at 35 Celsius than I have in parts of the American South, which should not be possible, and yet here we are. Retrofitting proper central AC into older UK housing is difficult. Ductwork, solid walls, limited space, cost, energy concerns, all valid. None of that changes the fact that lying on the floor with a fan pointed directly at your face is not a housing strategy. It's surrender. And while British homes are very good at trapping heat, they're a lot less generous when it comes to storing food. Number 2, massive fridges and real pantries. American kitchens are built around abundance. Big fridge, big freezer, big pantry. You do one supermarket trip, buy enough food for a minor emergency, and disappear back into your house for a week. Then you get to the UK and discover the integrated fridge. It looks sleek, it disappears behind a cupboard door. It also holds roughly 3 yogurts, 1 cucumber, and a fragile sense of optimism. The freezer is usually 3 little drawers that seem specifically designed to reject frozen pizza. And a pantry? In a lot of homes, that just means one cupboard where the tea, pasta, and biscuits fight for dominance. But the reason is cultural as much as architectural. In the US, people drive to giant supermarkets and shop in bulk. In the UK, there's more of a habit of picking things up regularly from a nearby shop. Smaller storage works if you're buying for the next day or two instead of the next 2 weeks. Honestly, it probably reduces waste. Americans are great at losing produce in the back of enormous refrigerators until it liquefies. But emotionally, I still miss the security of opening a fridge and feeling like I could survive a snowstorm, a long weekend, or a minor zombie event. And the one feature I miss even more than that is sitting right at the front door. Number 1, mailboxes instead of letterboxes. The American mailbox is underrated. It sits outside. The mail goes in. You collect it when you feel like it. Simple. The British letterbox is a slot in the front door, which means your post arrives with a dramatic metal clap and lands directly on the floor of your hallway, like a tiny daily home invasion. If you have a dog, this system is chaos. Every delivery feels personal. The postman doesn't just approach the house, he inserts objects through the wall. No wonder British dogs lose their minds, and from a comfort standpoint, this setup is not exactly helping. If your front door has a flap cut into it, you are going to feel that in winter. You can talk about tradition all you want. Tradition is a lot less charming when it's blowing cold air directly into your hallway. That said, this one probably says more about geography than anything else. The UK is denser. Front doors are close to the pavement. Direct delivery makes sense. In the US, distances are bigger, and curbside mailboxes were a practical answer to a much more spread out country. It's charming, it's historic, it's deeply British. I still hate being jump scared by my own mail. After living in the UK, I've realized American homes and British homes are built around 2 very different philosophies. The American house is a convenience machine. Bigger appliances, more storage, more outlets, more climate control. It's designed to remove friction from everyday life as fast as possible. The British house is more like a long-running negotiation with history. Older infrastructure, smaller rooms, higher energy costs, more practical limits. It asks you to adapt instead of expecting the building to adapt to you. And that's why this stuff is so interesting. None of these quirks are random. They all come from somewhere. Old laws, old plumbing, old streets, old habits. So yes, I absolutely want my bathroom outlet, my proper dryer, and my giant American fridge back. But once you understand why the UK does things this way, the whole country starts to make a lot more sense. If you've ever moved countries and had a housing habit completely break your brain, drop it in the comments. And if you want part 2, because there are definitely more than 9, subscribe and I'll do the things the UK gets right that America still hasn't figured out.